Nerd is your description.
Uh, asked me for something, so I.
Okay. Um, what links would you like me to share while we are hanging out here for a second?
I mean, I'm not really a self promoter at all. I mean, I've got a LinkedIn account, but it doesn't
Okay.
really.
You want me to do your LinkedIn?
Sure.
I'll grab it. Okay, let me look you up. We get started. Okay, got it. Okay, good. Thank you, Emre. Yeah, I had just hit go live, so I think maybe it took a second to register. Oop. Okay, just making sure I wasn't freezing. Good morning. I am here with Robert Cameron. He is one of our lovely Torc ambassadors. And I did meet Robert actually in person at ATO AI in March. So I love being able to share that I've met someone in person when we're chatting. I'm going to go ahead and let Robert say a little bit more about himself, and then I will get to the question portion.
Sure. So I've been, in technology my entire career. Um, Currently with, a large company doing broadly related, security related things in fraud detection, things like that. Immediately before that, I was with a startup doing work with artificial intelligence and drones. And I also stay, in technical, keep my hand down on the technical side in other ways, one of which is being an ambassador and a mentor with Torc. I also am a mentor with a high school robotics team, been doing that since 2018. And I have a couple other groups that I do mentoring work with on the side, kind of sort of unofficially. So that's the quick answer.
That's awesome. So are you sort of like a teacher at heart?
I guess so. Like I really do think back, like, why am I drawn to the mentoring side of things? And I think maybe it's just because I don't feel like I got a lot of that, and I want to be
Mm,
the mentor that I missed or something like that. But I am also very about all the things with Torque. I guess is like kind of like I can see there are companies over here who have openings, who really, really want to fill openings. There are people over here who would really, really like to have jobs. And how do we, figure out all the ways that we can potentially get that together? And now when I see those, I see people who have potential, and I know that they could really do a good job for a company, or I see companies like, gosh, we've had this rec open for 6 months and we can't get anybody in, like really wanting to make those connections because it's a win-win all around.
yeah, that's awesome. So you're like a teacher slash matchmaker.
Yeah, sure. I guess you could think of it that way. I just
I
more like
always have
it's
to
like,
tie
I
everything to
want to
education.
help people see
Sorry.
the benefit of my mistakes, because obviously I've had a bumpy road at times, and like I do have things I can offer in that area of like, yeah, here's a, like, I understand you're out of work right now, but spending your entire day online applying for jobs is not a good plan. I know I've done that. It's not good. It's not the path to success. So little tidbits like that I can offer. I want to do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I'm sure that your mentees, uh, at Torque and at the high school, I think you mentioned, I think everyone's probably grateful for that. So speaking of Torque, how did you hear about how did you hear about Torque? How did you end up joining our community or
Yeah.
Randstad
So
Digital?
yeah, and it was, yeah, slash Ransom. So
Yeah.
I was at the inaugural All Things AI in 2025, and was just walking through booths, and saw this very large gentleman with blonde hair, with bouncing off the walls energy. I think maybe you've met him. Um, and
Possibly.
he's like, yeah, he gave me, kind of a quick elevator pitch, and like, that sounds cool. And I've got, I'm perfectly happy with where I'm currently working, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not like looking for to make a change or anything like that. But I'm aware that like the time to build your network is not when you need it, right? You build it before you need it. And so I wanted to, and it just seemed interesting at the time. And they had a Discord server. I've got Discord on my phone. Why not check this out? And didn't do much with it for a bit. And then like a few months later, like, hey, we're starting this mentor program. Anybody want to be a mentor? Of course I do. And jumped right in on that. And then the ambassador stuff started, I think, earlier this year, and just kind of continued with that. And seeing you and Taylor at a couple of different meetups and things. I believe Taylor is actually speaking at the All Things Open meetup here in Raleigh in August. So I'll be running in and trying to absorb some of that energy again.
Yeah, he will. I believe August 5th, I think, right? Is that what you're talking about? But yeah, we've been very lucky to have you as a mentor in the program. You always give us such great feedback. You message me behind the scenes, so we're very grateful for that. What kind of, so I feel like we have like some of our ambassadors are better with their online content, and then some are better with their like in person, or like, I guess with you, it's kind of like you're like a really big asset behind the scenes a lot of the time. What content or contributions have you been focusing on mostly as an ambassador?
Yeah, and also like I kind of as with signing up for this interview, a lot of things I've done with Torc is just kind of been like, sure, why not? I don't really know what this involves yet, but I'm game to try and jump in and figure out what it is. And that was kind of the ambassador was like that too, because I don't have like a huge online presence or anything like that. If you want to hit me up on Facebook or any of those others, Twitter or anything like that, that's too bad because I don't have accounts on those. So I really just have LinkedIn because I think it's important for career stuff. So it's kind of stepped up on the LinkedIn side, but like as you say, it's also kind of that guerrilla interactions, right? Just meeting people around, working things on other Discord servers, right? Where I can like, hey, and some of them, some of them are like pop culture related, but there's still like a nerdy side to it. There's just something that like, oh, hey, by the way, this is maybe something that folks would be interested in to get them over into Torc. So like I said, I haven't been that big in the online presence. I'm probably more of a contributor, like you said, like just kind of like you say, maybe in behind the scenes or less visible ways to try and get people in. Although I did this week, I made a semi-random LinkedIn post about, we had the Java folks, the kind of what's new in Java and Spring presentation yesterday. And I was like, you know what? I used to do that. I used to be very heavy in those areas, and I'm not really anymore. I'll just put a post on LinkedIn about that, and I've gotten I think like 4 or 5 responses now of people who have joined the community from seeing that post, which is surprising because again, it was just kind of like I've had other posts that, like I thought they're a lot harder, and I try to do a whole lot different other stuff with it. I was like, this one's just like, oh hey, here's kind of off the top of my head a thing I'm thinking of, and while I'm in there, I'll throw in the link of here's how you can join the Torc community, and it's gotten some response. So
yeah, it's crazy how that works. It's like you spend all this time on stuff, it gets like barely any views, and then it's like you just throw something out there and boom, it goes viral. Who are you trying to reach, and what do you want them to walk away thinking about in regards to the community that we have going?
Well, most of it, I do feel like I'm kind of drawn to like early career folks, or folks who just can't find it, or folks who are have hit a dead end in another career or something like that. I was like, you know what, whatever I was doing before wasn't working. I really want to get into technology and figure out how that works, and looking at those unconventional paths, right? Looking at folks who, and that's like one of the other groups I work with is like, these are people who like, maybe have a criminal justice background or something like that, who like really are like, okay, it's trying to start fresh, trying to be better with, part of society and what have you, and how can they get into tech. And so I try and like, to me, that's where there's some more creative challenges too. It's like, okay, well, this is not a person who's just going to do the paint by numbers and walk all the way through the system, right? This is somebody who's going to have to find some unique way of coming at it. And Torc is a good part of that, right? Because it's like it's that networking thing, and helping people do, and just giving people like some basic techniques of how to do the job search, how to keep it going, how to try and stay motivated, because it's hard. It's you're going to have always things that are coming up in your way. One of the things is it's interesting to talk about. Like I've been part of other Like I was big in the Java users group here in Raleigh for a number of years, and been part of a couple of other things like that. What's interesting to me about Torc is it's not tied to a specific technology, right? So it's kind of evergreen. So it can be kind of your career home base as we talk about, because whatever tech may come and go, but the community is going to remain. The community is going to remain, with the cutting edge of what's going on out there, and helping people stay up to date on those things with all the different, online seminars and things that go on. So that's part of what I hope people are able to join up and participate and get part of.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It is a technologist community, right? Like it's not just for a specific framework or language. Um, what has being an ambassador changed the way that you engage with the tech community, or has it made you more involved? Like, how has it changed any of your interactions?
I mean, I think it has. Just the idea of like, well, I'm just going to kind of try to put LinkedIn posts and things like that. It just helped me keep some of my own connections fresher, right? Because I've got there's pretty much always something going on with Torc, so I've got something to talk about all the time, and maybe I've got somebody who I met at a conference some number of years ago, or somebody I used to work with, or whatever. And maybe if I didn't have something new to talk about, I would that connection might go a little bit stale for us. But if I've got, hey, hey, I remember this person was kind of interested in like this technology a little while ago, and there's a talk coming up. Maybe I can put them in touch. Maybe they'd like to join the community. Maybe they'd like to, hang out for the talk, or just go to one of the general meetups. So that kind of, I think that's kind of what has changed for me, is kind of helping me keep things fresh, because Torc keeps things fresh.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we do try to keep things fresh. There's like always something going on, right? Um, what is something that you wish more developers knew about our community, that you think isn't spoken about enough, or maybe for some reason it kind of gets buried?
I think that just kind of there's the kind of long tail. I think there's people who, like, going to All Things Open, or whatever other places where, like, okay, I can get a resume review. I can get like a review of my LinkedIn profile. But then what? Right. And there is a then what with us, right? Let's stay in touch. Let's share. Oh, you've got this technology that's an interest of, and people can hear about it and being cross post, and even just things like to keep it, if okay, maybe I'm not looking for a job right at this moment, but I can stay active with like the book club side. And if things change, or even if I hear about something that I can share, that's a thing that I can continue to go with it and have it be additive. It doesn't have to be all technology all the time. There's something occurred to me when you were saying something earlier on. It's like, Torc is maybe not so much about the technologies and more about the technologists. So it's got that human factor. Like I've worked with, career's been going on a long time, and I've worked with other places who are like recruiting companies, stuff like that, and they get an open item, and you apply for it, and maybe you get it, maybe you don't, and if you don't, maybe you hear from them again, maybe you don't. You probably don't. My experience is that I don't, unless they just so happen to get something else, and that might be 3 years later that they think that you're a match for. Whereas I think Torc is about making deeper connections, which again, with AI being the way it is, I think we're really looking at like what's it mean to be human, what's it mean to have human connections and things like that, and those are becoming, I think, even more valuable than they were before. So I think that's been a real good asset to it, and I think that will continue.
Yeah, I agree. I have made a lot of deeper connections, I guess, like with our Discord, especially because I feel like a lot of times, you know, I feel like the online tech community is way smaller than it seems. And so
Yes.
I think it's especially cool when your communities overlap, because then you kind of get to see different sides of people. Um, and whenever you meet them in person, it's more special, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, I've been in Raleigh since like 2006, and I've heard of All Things Open for many years, but I didn't go. I didn't get a chance to go for the first time until maybe 2 years ago, and went and discovered like this is like the tech reunion in Raleigh. Like I saw people there I haven't seen in 10 years. Like, oh, it was just a really cool chance to catch up and stuff like that, because it just engenders that kind of community and talking and things like that. And it's a cool. And I know that they're kind of buddies with the Torque folks as well. But I like in terms of like a conference, I get a lot of times you go to these conferences and you're going to the trade booths and stuff like that. And it's very transactional, right? You want to scan my card, I want your swag. Let's make a deal. But like at all things open and the other stuff that they do, it really like I've just had like really valuable conversations and stuff at the trade booths. Like it's just people who are like, okay, there is no deal here. You're not going to make a sale. Well, let's have an interesting conversation anyway. And so it's been a great part of it. And I'm happy that Torc and Randstad are part of that community as well, because I think that's just additive to both groups.
Oh yeah, I agree. I really like the all things open community. And you're right. Like thinking back to the booths, it is like very chill. You can stop and have conversations. And so you'll be there in October?
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. Cool. I'll see you then. What's something that you've learned from other community members? Because I know we've talked about how you're like a teacher, a mentor. What's something that you've learned about anything? It doesn't just have to be tech related. Maybe
Yeah,
tech
I
community.
mean, part of the thing and part of the reason like I've stayed involved with the teen robotics group is there are days that I'm a manager now, and so the development manager, and there are days at my job where I'm absolutely doing more things that I've learned as a mentor in these different groups than as my personal experience as an individual contributor. And that's always surprising to me. That's kind of why I like to stay involved in the groups, because okay, well, I want to give back because I've gotten that value out of it. So I'm sure there's times like I've talked to, I'll bring up, there was one mentee that I was working with in Nigeria, and college student working hard, got all this stuff, and we kind of like we worked through the goals, and Torc through the mentor program had actually provided some stuff about SMART goals, SMART. For anybody watching that, you can look those up. But it's a really nice way to frame, so you don't just say, "Well, I'm going to go learn this new technology." Okay, how do you know when you're done? Right? It's a really good format to learn all of those things.
Like
So I
measurable.
gave like through Torc and through those resources, kind of gave him that. It's like, hey, why don't you come back with some goals, and we'll see what we can do. And what he came back with blew me away. Like it was like, okay, this quarter I'm going to do this quarter I'm going to do that. This is why. These are the motivations. If it doesn't work, this is the fallback kind of things. And I've actually used that as an example with the people that report to me at my job to say,
That's awesome.
Here's how you can do these. Here's how you can set these SMART goals really, really well. So like, yeah, there's all kinds of synergies that are happening.
That's awesome. Yeah, look, y'all mentees and mentors learning from each other.
Exactly. Yeah. No, absolutely. Like the mentor is that's not a one-way street. Like the mentor is just dropping knowledge for the mentee. It's you learn things. You learn how to. This is one of my own little personal things about doing the mentor thing, which comes from the robotic stuff, because they do it in a very student-led kind of a way. So you're never like doing the. You're not setting it out like step by step, do this, then this, then this. I always think of it as the mentoring kind of relationships are, you're playing pinball, and questions are your flippers. So sometimes, and so it's like you're not deciding where the ball goes, right? You're doing your best to nudge the ball in a certain direction. And sometimes it'll go where you're expecting it to go, and sometimes it won't. But it's really, excellent visual there. So it is, and
For all
sometimes
the
it's not going
babies
to go
out
the way
there.
you gotta have it come back. And maybe if pinball's too old, we'll reference they used to have these games where you knock the ball around.
Let's talk about Pong.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should change it. But I really do think of it as like it's that, and it really does help the person, I think, internalize. And I do that with my work stuff too. Like if you're reviewing code from somebody, I would rather not say, "Oh, you've built this so it won't scale. Change A, B, and C." I'd rather go to that person with that review and say, "Okay, I've got this code. I see this code works. What happens when 100,000 users hit this at the same time?" And they start to work it through. They start to figure it out. And what's good about that is it's not a do it because I said so, right? So they run into a situation like this some number of years down the road. I'm not there, but they've internalized the process of the things to think about and figure out, and it's still with them as they go forward.
Yeah. Yes, that's how you learn, right? Kind of
Right, but if you
off
do,
of.
but sorry, if you just if you're doing it because somebody else said so, you haven't internalized that, and you're not
Right.
going to have that
Yes.
value forward. So I'm trying to encourage you the other way.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like former educator, definitely. um, so sort of going back to the ambassador role, because I feel like this is a good question for anybody that's thinking about being an ambassador for any kind of program or that currently is. How do you think that you can leverage the ambassador role so that you benefit from it in the long run, whether it's visibly or on your resume, something like that?
Sure. I mean, that's one way for sure, just to be active and involved in a community. People appreciate like the volunteering aspects of it and things. Um, Ways to go with it longer term. Well, it's just kind of like when if you get stopped, you kind of have to be able to elevator pitch it all the time, right? And if you can do that for the organization, can you do that for yourself? Can you do that for your employer? Can you do that in other ways that are going to be valuable skills for you to have going forward? And just to be able to, yeah, if you're working with somebody in the community who's like, gosh, I'm really struggling with this aspect of my career, I'm having trouble digging into this other part of a thing, you're building up your own problem solving skills that, again, you could apply to a problem in your home life, problem in your family, problem in your own career, your own business is facing some kind of an issue. Yeah, those are all, I think, valuable things that people can take with it going forward.
I like that. I never thought about it kind of. See, so like I said, like I feel like you are such a support system like behind the scenes, and those are responses that are similar where it's like these are how you can grow, ways you can grow internally from this role, right? Because previously I think I had talked about like, it's almost like content creation experience. It's volunteer experience. So yeah, like I enjoy seeing your point of view or hearing your point of view.
Yeah.
So now, since we're wrapping up right now, like what is something that you're working on currently that you're really excited about? And I'll go ahead and put your LinkedIn up while you're talking too.
Sure. Well, a couple things I'm working on. So one is my employer has the employees get volunteer hours, right? They have to, it has to be specific, like a volunteer organization, things like that, but you get a certain number of hours a year that you can apply. And some people I was working with were having a conversation. It's like, you know what? I get these volunteer hours every year and I don't use them. I don't know what to do with them, anything like that. The robotics group that I work with, the students are putting on what they call Maker Camp, and the students themselves are the counselors, right? And they'll bring in younger children and things like that and help them learn how to do like 3D printing, CNC routing. They do like animation kind of stuff and coding stuff and all those kinds of things. And I thought, aha, what if these people who don't know what to do with their volunteer hours could become support groups for this Maker Camp. So I'm trying to work on some stuff with that to kind of make those connections happen and bring that together. Personally, I am working on. I went to the All Things Open meetup back in June, and there was a really interesting presentation there about like pulling down like a open source AI model, running it locally, figuring out how you could integrate with other MCP servers and things that are out there. But you're keeping, the actual LLM is running locally on your system, so you've got, you're using local hardware. If you don't want it phoning home, it's not doing that, right? And those kinds of things. That was just a personal interest of mine that I've been working on here, which is interesting because I'm running it on my local Ubuntu box. And to go on a little tech tangent here, so it's running an LLM, so it wants to get into getting the GPU, right? So I'm installing this thing, I'm going through the work, and all of a sudden my video can only support one screen, no audio, at like 1024 by 768. Like, what the heck just happened here? It's like, oh, you went in and you mudged with my video drivers, and I have to figure that out. So I got it back to a good state, and my next state is, okay, how can I make sure that this sample will work the way I want it to work, and also be able to function on multiple screens, because this is my home system and I'm running it natively. I usually that kind of stuff in VMs. This one I just kind of decided, well, what if I run it native? And I found out there are drawbacks to that, but it was just kind of a fun exploratory thing for me to get into.
That's awesome. Thank you so much from I'm sorry. I was reading this at the same time. Thank you so much for telling us about yourself and your life and, you know, being part of our community because we love having you. You're, like I said, you're not super active in like where it's visible, like on in the water cooler, but there's like other channels I've seen you in and you're super helpful behind the scenes. You're a great mentor and we just love having you.
Yeah, pretty much if I can't come up with a silly thing to say, I don't say anything at all. So,
Well, I always have silly
but
things to
and
say,
it's like, and I
so
like to be in part of the
yeah,
Torc community. It's just kind of like, okay, let's figure this out. You guys are interested in some stuff. I'm interested in how can I contribute? How can I help? And it's just been a great synergistic relationship. So I see it going forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, we are so happy to have you, and thank you again for making the time to chat with us today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks. You too, Roxy.
Bye. Thank you, everyone that stopped by.